Welcome to World Business. Now, Anie Akpe is the founder and CEO of African Women in Tech, a global platform supporting women in innovation, leadership, and emerging technologies. She's based in New York and has built a Cisco-recognized global academy delivering AI literacy and startup development programs across 5 countries. She's signed partnerships with major organizations including Google, SAP, the Web Summit, and the World Summit AI, helping to create technology ecosystems that have now reached more than 8,000 participants. Anie Akpe, welcome to World Business.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, it's great to have you, and I appreciate you're joining us from New York, where it is very, very early, so we're even more grateful to have you. Look, you've spent over 20 years understanding the intricacies of the tech sector across many different African countries. Women, we know, have long been innovators, disruptors. But in 2026, where are you seeing the biggest opportunities now for women?
You know, it's so funny. The very thing that everyone is complaining about is the very thing that's also creating opportunities for women. So, of course, we naturally have to go to artificial intelligence. I believe that there are so many ways in which I don't care what country you're in or where you're located, and if you have access to the internet and you're able to use it, AI gives you the ability to, be an entrepreneur literally within a couple of weeks just because of the ability to learn. So I believe the greatest opportunities for women will be in artificial intelligence, and I also believe blockchain as well.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, we often hear about Africa becoming a global innovation hub, don't we? Which is kind of weird, really, to refer to a vast and diverse continent of 54 countries as a hub. Obviously, each nation has got different ecosystems, but broadly speaking, if we can generalize, what still needs to change for women, do you think, to fully participate in this Africa-wide growth that we're seeing?
I think that there will always be a gap, even though we try to close the gap in terms of what's happening with women in technology. It'll always be a funding gap. It'll always be infrastructure if you're on the continent. There are things within infrastructure such as, power. We know that artificial intelligence takes lots of power. So you have to worry about things as having power, getting funding, and then most importantly, having the support that allows women to continue to grow. Technology moves at a fast pace, and a lot of us take it for granted that it's there because we have access to it or we see it. But we don't understand the full impact that it has in the background of all the changes that's happening. So unless the women are able to stay up to date, that will always be something that is lacking for all women that are pursuing technology or any career within tech.
Yeah, you touched on AI as well. Artificial intelligence clearly transforming all industries worldwide. Do you think Africa, in a way, if we don't get this right, risks being left behind? Or do you think it is just naturally going to become a leader anyway in certain areas of AI innovation?
I believe that it's 2 things. The first is that it's, number one, it will leave people behind. Number 2, it's natural in innovation that you will have pockets of tech enthusiasts that will always be ahead of the curve. What happens within are actually being on the continent as you're moving forward is that if you're not seeking out the technology spaces and you're not in that space, you actually miss the curve a lot. Technology, for most people, they look at it as like, I don't really need to pay attention to it right now, or I don't have access to it, so I'm just going to ignore it, or I don't have the right tools. Because of that, you will have people that will be left behind. So it's not a perfect scenario. On the flip side of that, you have people that are caught up in every update that could tell you what Claude can do as of yesterday with all the new releases that might come out. So that will always be a concern.
Yeah, I guess. And access to funding as well, I guess, remains still a major challenge, particularly for some female founders, even globally outside of Africa as well. How difficult is it for women-led tech businesses, specifically in Africa, to secure that investment that they need?
The numbers are still roughly at 5% of what the men are getting. There isn't a huge number, but the good thing about the Africa story
5%.
is
Sorry to butt in on it. 5% of what the male founders are getting. That's incredible.
Yes, exactly. So you don't have a high percentage of women that are getting funded, and people still think that, oh, that's not possible because everything is happening. No, when you're out there and you're actually seeing the numbers, you know the reality behind it. I think that as women progress forward, the good thing is that we are having women that are coming in and they're becoming VCs. They're funding other women projects. So you do have opportunities that's being created by women for women. So that helps. However, it still doesn't change the national average of women not getting funded. I think that the opportunities will be there, and women have learned that, okay, if I'm not going to get funded, what else can I do? So the next natural thing for them to do is bootstrap. So they start bootstrapping, they start building. I think that if you go into any African market, I think 80% of the women in that market, 80% of the market is women. So it's not advertised. These women buy their products, with their self-made funds, and they just recycle and continue to build. That's what's happening with women in tech. When there's no funding around, women are actually building their projects slowly and being able to be successful at it with the amount of money that they're self-raising or even funding from their own pockets. I believe that there is, opportunities for technology to look at some of the advancements, but it's only in small pockets and it's only concentrated areas such as fintech, as we know, because that's the biggest funding that has been received throughout Africa is in the fintech sector. And then you have health tech and so on.
Now, we spoke at the top of the show about the achievements your organisation has already racked up since it was founded. What about future projects, though? What's your focus going to be and the focus of your organisation over the next couple of years?
Well, our focus right now is understanding that the market is changing, and it changes in terms of payment, how much you're getting paid in terms of the technology, and what sector is being actually moving or eliminated. So right now for us, part of the reason why we push so hard for the Cisco Academy is because we understand that the skills gap will not be able to cross over once you're left behind. So what we're planning on doing is making sure that we're able to train and give women access to the most available technology tools. We are also have a partnership with Zoho. With Zoho, we're able to lead women into software solutions that create efficiency. We want them to understand that as you're building out whatever platform it is, make sure you're using the latest technology. And here's how Zoho can help you to do that, as well as allow you to see the efficiency that technology offers when building. We, of course, are pursuing more education courses with Google in terms of helping our women to make sure that they're staying updated. As you know, there's massive layoffs within the tech sector, within the industry, economies, period. So the only thing you could do in this stage of it is to upskill. And if you're not upskilling, this is where you get the left behind story, only because most of these jobs are not returning. And it's either you're creating something totally new as an entrepreneur, or you have shifted and you're now within a sector that allows you to get hired. So training becomes a priority in making sure that women have all the tools that's necessary for them to be able to land the next opportunity. So more than anything, as we're going through changes in the world right now, and essentially where everything is being moved by AI and positions are being eliminated, training becomes the number one focus in making sure that no one is left behind, and no one and everyone has access to opportunities that's available once you're able to gain knowledge.
And Anie, do you still think there's sort of uncomfortable geopolitical truths that we still haven't solved here. I mean, we still have the shadow of colonialism. France has recently, for example, come up against some of its own made problems in that area. We've got sovereign debt issues. We've got sometimes one-sided, borderline exploitative foreign direct investment. Would you say that the rest of the world still hasn't found a kind of a grown-up, adult-to-adult way of partnering with Africa?
I think they're all still learning, essentially. I think that it's funny because the world moves, nothing stays the same. So whether you're in Nigeria or you're in Kenya, the needs of the people is changing. So governments are paying attention and they are developing out programs that's going to be sustainable to their economies. And with that being said, they have people that are within that they are having to make sure that those people understand that they have their best interests, which is the community. And essentially, if the community is saying to you, we're no longer interested in working with these countries because they haven't done us any good, you can't ignore it. But at the same time, what's happening is that it's giving Africa the opportunity to readdress itself and say, hey, this is what we want and what we don't want. As we're noticing, as things are happening, we are noticing, certain countries that are moving faster than others because they're choosing innovation, or they're choosing projects that's going to be sustainable for the future of their country. And as other countries with outside influences, such as the French, may come in, they have to be able to know that decisions that are being made is essentially for the people of the country and not necessarily for the benefit of other countries. I know that most people may look at that and say, well, Africa has always been open and it'll continue to allow other countries to work with them or to build. It's true. Africa is always open. But what's happening now is African leaders are having to pay more attention to their communities in terms of what's best for the community and what will shape the community for the future. And most of them are making good decisions in terms of making sure that they're bringing in the right organizations, the right companies, and the right people to help structure for innovation.
Yeah, very good point. I mean, Anie, I'm speaking to you from Baku. You're in New York, obviously. The last time we met, I think, was in Doha on a stage. I wonder how you see countries like Azerbaijan, like Qatar, Kazakhstan, and others when it comes to future partnerships in Africa. Countries that are growing in global influence, but don't have this history of colonialism.
Well, that's part of the reason why I was in Qatar. Kind of fell in love with Qatar. But the whole point of a Qatar country is that Qatar is focused on innovation and infrastructure for its people and has opened its doors to others. And by being able to open that door, it allowed people like myself to come in, where we do projects that are Africa focused. Qatar and other countries understand the workforce, and African countries can offer the workforce that's needed. So being able to be in countries that are helping shape the future of what Africa looks like, because there are a lot of employees within these countries, I think that's very impactful. And then not only that, but I believe the biggest challenge of any country is making sure that it can sustain its people. Places like the Middle East are not only sustaining its people, but it's also looking to create future innovation that can not only impact the Middle East, but as well as Africa. So when Africans look at the Middle East, we see the future of innovation and the future of what Africa could be. We all know that they have similar offerings such as oil and gas infrastructure. So being able to take note from that is what's key for most of the Africans that look towards the Middle East. We do believe that the opportunity there will be able to be a bigger bridge than even sometimes being in the USA.
Anie, it's been a joy to speak to you. Thank you so much for joining us on World Business.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, let's take a look at what else has been happening this week in the world of business.
students move between lectures at the University of the Witwatersrand, one of several institutions positioning South Africa within a growing global race to secure the future of the internet. Inside the physics department, lasers fire across a darkened laboratory where researchers are experimenting with a new way of transmitting data using the principles of quantum physics. Professor Andrew Forbes is among those leading the work, developing communication systems that could make certain types of cyber interception fundamentally detectable.
When I generate these two quantum particles and they're going in different directions, these two different paths, if someone were to intercept this one and do something to it, I would see it on my other particle. So when I see, somebody is intercepting, I immediately stop the connection. In the quantum world, the eavesdropper always changes what they're trying to intercept. So they can break the connection, but they can never get the information.
Forbes and his team are also working to increase the capacity of current networks. Today's fibre systems carry information through a single pattern of light. Their approach would allow thousands of patterns to travel simultaneously, significantly increasing bandwidth while introducing new forms of secure transmission.
You can think of every pattern as being almost like a tube carrying the present-day internet speed. If we have 100 tubes like that, we have 100 times the bandwidth. So that's where the speed comes in. And what we want to do is we want to take that speed layer and put it on top of the present internet, put it on top of the present Starlink systems. We're not going to replace them, we're going to enhance them with this new technology. So it is disruptive, but not in the sense that you rip everything out. It's disruptive in the sense that you do things differently by improving present-day systems.
The research comes as cyber threats intensify globally, particularly in financial systems, where vast volumes of data and transactions are processed in real time.
Right now we are on the second quantum revolution, and South Africa is actually on the forefront of this. I think we often see ourselves as always sort of having to catch up to what the rest of the world is doing, but I don't think that's the case right now. I actually think we're in front with the pack currently. I think oftentimes you see on the news, we're doing world-class research, and I think now not only have we caught up, but we're actually there with the leaders as well.
At startup Orca Fraud, engineers and analysts monitor payment systems designed to detect suspicious activity as transactions occur. Unlike the experimental work in Johannesburg, Orca operates firmly within existing infrastructure.
The cyber fraud problem is worse than ever before. We're now seeing fraud move faster than ever across borders on instant payment methods that are moving instantly. We're seeing with the rise of AI, fraud is mutating, so the fraudsters have some of the best tools in the world to really transform and attack us in more surface areas than ever before.
The company's systems assess transactions in fractions of a second, cross-referencing multiple signals to determine whether activity is legitimate or potentially fraudulent.
When a fraudulent transaction hits the system, we get the payment initiation as it happens, and then within 200 milliseconds we're able to respond with the likelihood that this transaction is fraudulent. So in order to detect a fraudulent transaction, we look at a whole combination of signals that we're able to cross-reference across each other. And the way that we set that up is through heuristics, machine learning, the ability to detect anomalies in behavior, both on the user basis and on a broader customer basis.
As digital payments accelerate and expand across borders, the speed and complexity of cyber fraud is increasing, placing pressure on institutions to react almost instantaneously. While commercial deployment remains years away, the research reflects a broader shift in how governments, scientists and industry are thinking about cybersecurity, from responding to threats to redesigning the systems they target.
Dell shares rocketed higher in after-hours trade Thursday, jumping around 39%. The surge came after the computer maker lifted revenue and profit expectations. Dell says it is seeing soaring demand for AI-optimized servers used in data centers. It's benefiting as tech giants like Alphabet and Amazon plan to spend over $700 billion on AI-related infrastructure this year. Dell now expects annual revenue of up to $169 billion, way up on the previous forecast of up to $142 billion. AI server revenue is expected to hit $60 billion for fiscal 2027, $10 billion up on previous expectations. The company has been adjusting prices constantly as strong global demand causes the cost of memory chips to soar. On a call with analysts, Chief Operating Officer Jeff Clark said he knew customers were feeling the pain, but he said there was little sign of inflationary pressure easing. One analyst told Reuters that Dell looked well placed to cope with the chip shortage, helped by its scale and strong relationships with suppliers.
Chinese online retailer Temu has been fined $232 million for failing to stop the sale of illegal products, European Union tech regulators said on Thursday. It's the first part of a wide investigation under the EU's Digital Services Act, and further penalties could be handed out. The Act requires large online companies to do more to tackle illegal and harmful content on their platforms. Commission spokesperson Thomas Regnier said the company hasn't assessed the risks of illegal products being sold on its marketplace.
Dangerous toys for kids, small electronics without proper label, clothes and jewelry containing harmful chemicals, to name just a few. Our message is clear. If you want to access our market of 450 million consumers, you have to respect our rules. Period.
In a statement, Temu says it respects the DSA objectives but disagrees with the Commission's decision. The company says it has taken further steps to strengthen risk assessment, platform governance and user protection. Regulators said they will continue their investigation into whether the design of Temu's service is addictive. The Commission gave Temu until late August to deliver a compliance action plan that regulators will assess.
The S&P, the NASDAQ continue to move higher. It's been the trend of late. Good news coming out of the Middle East with reports of a potential truce in place. The inflation data this morning, not terrible. The GDP revision, not terrible. And the promise of AI continues to be top of mind with investors. As such, we continue to see an ascent in the markets today.
Well, that is all for this week. Please do join us again next time for more World Business.